Flex,
Good morning,
welcome. Thank
guys.
you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting us.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
fortuitous timing. I think you guys are a good luck charm.
yeah,
And I know it's late by you, so we appreciate you joining us. Not that you'd be able to go to bed right now anyway, with the way the market's moving. Um,
yeah.
but for starters, Flex,
hmm
Babel is a newer company, not brand new, but a newer company. Why don't we just start out with a little bit of your background and a little bit more about Babel so that people understand kind of contextually
Okay.
what your perspective is and how you think about the market.
Actually, Babel Finance is, we say it's a global cryptocurrency financial provider, but it's in general, but be a little bit specific. We're more like a bridge. We kind of bridge the Chinese miners or Asian miners with the cheaper fund from Western institutions. We bridge the China miners fresh bitcoins to Western institutions who wants to do the Greece arbitrage and who wants to participate in DeFi world, and we are also a bridge to bridge the traditional financial products or traditional style financial product in cryptocurrency world to the Bitcoin or Ethereum holders to let them to enjoy the yield enhancement from our products. So generally, we are a financial service provider in Asia, but maybe people are not very familiar with us. But all the famous Western lending partners will be quite familiar with us because we are supplying them with very cheap Bitcoin and Ethereum, as we have fresh Bitcoin Ethereum here. hmm
And you all are based in Hong Kong.
hmm
What would you say are some of the most important trends, maybe non-obvious trends that folks in the West should know about when it comes to the Chinese, Hong Kong, Singaporean, kind of broader Asian markets? And this is kind of a loaded question because I don't think that you can paint all of those markets with a broad brush. But maybe we'll start with China and Hong Kong in particular, whether there's
hmm
any misconceptions about the market or really what the key drivers are and key trends that you look at and whether they're kind of consistent with what we're seeing in the US and Europe.
I think China or Asia's market, basically Asia's markets are kind of fall behind the US market uh, in regards of regulations, in regards of basically everything. See lots of trends in like a Western institutionalization of Bitcoin. Lots of listed company, including MicroStrategy and other famous companies, and as a payment service provider like PayPal, they they support Bitcoin. They get lots of Bitcoins from the market. But we didn't really see the trends in Asia market, especially in China market, because we have been talking to lots of Chinese institutional investors. They are quite, I would say, conservative on this part. Although they are very interested in cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, Ethereum, but still we see they quite hesitant. I think two major reasons behind this. One is that the regulators here is quite, um, not sure about this market because maybe previously this market is too small for them to regulate, and currently the market is kind of um, uh, growing rapidly, and they don't know how to do it. So they copy the regulations from US, so they kind of fall behind. Another major reason is actually in this year, especially after the March market crisis, lots of Chinese miners have been wiped out, and lots of Asian market makers has been also losing money. So kind of they missed this market trend this year. And we see on the other hand, the Western institutions coming to this market, and we see lots of Bitcoin, Ethereum outflow from the crypto native exchange in Asia, like BMax, like this exchange related to like how to say it, money laundering, whatever, these things. So yeah, we see this. But maybe in the year end, we heard two good news. One is DBS will launch its exchange for institutional investor or professional investors, and Hong Kong-based company OSL received the license from the SFC. But all the regulation is still very conservative. We see these licenses will be limited to professional investors, namely the institutional investor and high net worth individuals. So it's still falling behind the China's regulators. So U.S. regulators. So yeah, we are positive about the future, but not so sure about this trend will be in Asia as well. But we are trying. We are trying very hard. Like we are also applying for a license in Hong Kong. We want to bridge the traditional money into cryptocurrencies. So yeah, people are trying here, but yeah, it really depends on the regulations.
Yep, and so OSL in Hong Kong, DBS obviously in Singapore. China is such a massive market, and it's also where such a large proportion of Bitcoin mining capacity is. So it seems like we go through these cycles every few years where China bans Bitcoin. It's never actually happened, but there certainly is ambiguity or discomfort at the extreme around the regulated status and kind of the ability to provide certain services. One thing that from a Western perspective seems a little bit different about China is that while things may appear to be slow or the market may appear to be behind that of the West, China can also adapt extremely quickly, and basically with the snap of fingers, that could change overnight. Do you think that there are any catalysts to a more rapid embrace, or at least a more rapid outline of regulatory standards in China? What would that look like, and is there any historical precedent for fintech companies, for instance, that have been able to navigate this and where they've operated in murky areas for a while, but then all of a sudden there are some pronouncements or clarity that basically helps accelerate things from 0 to 100 miles an hour essentially overnight. Is that something that you expect, or how would we even know that was coming aside from just a drop of a hat and kind of a pronouncement?
Yeah, I would say in regulatory side for Hong Kong and Singapore, they are copying from like US standards, but in China it's a little bit special here. We know China's government is kind of hesitate here. They're hesitating to adapt Bitcoin and other things, but not really on the mining industry. For the mining industries, we see lots of improvements in the regulatory environment. Lots of local government in Sichuan and Xinjiang province, they support this mining industry, but it's basically in a local government perspective rather than central government perspective. But from my point of view, it's still too early for China's regulators to accept cryptocurrencies, especially when People's Bank, this PBOC, will launch its own digital currency in very near future. So I think it's still very vague to tell whether they will accept it or not, because every time when people are saying maybe it's a good chance for for China's government to open its own exchange or whatever, but every time it's just saying. And we see this year, especially in the Q4, we see some of the key persons from the China-based exchanges are getting into custody. So we don't really know about the details of this, what happened, but we think it's kind of a bad sign for the cryptocurrencies in China's market.
It's interesting the difference between regulatory clarity on the mining side and on the exchange side. I'm sure there are a number of reasons for that, but let's talk about mining in particular, where you spend a bit of time and have, I think, pretty deep relationships. Is the increasing clarity in Sichuan and some of the other mainland provinces ensuring that market share stays in mainland China for Bitcoin mining capacity, or are you starting to see at least some outflow of mining centers and hash power outside of mainland China, even if most of the major manufacturers are still Chinese companies?
Yeah, actually, we have been providing financial service to the miners in China for like almost 2 years, and we know them very well. I think they are quite adaptive as well. Every time there's a new regulatory development in Sichuan, they will kind of pull into that market to build their mining farms. But this year it's a little bit different because we see like buyers from West are acquiring mining machines a lot. And I think in Q3, 70% of mining machines have been bought by the US-based company, and I think it's in short term it's a good sign that we see hash power has been more diversified compared to before. That previously 70% of hash power in China and 30% elsewhere. It's not very healthy in that sense, but this year we see. Maybe in next 12 months, we see there will be more hash powers in other areas besides China. But it's really not. Yeah.
So you do think that 51% of mining capacity will be outside of mainland in the next 12 months?
Not really. I mean, some of the hash power will be moving to like North America or whatever areas, but China still enjoys the advantage here that the cheap electricity and the acceptance of the miners of the like mining machines, the major mining machines producers in China. So we see lots of mining machines have been bought by Chinese miners. Not really 51% will be outside China, but it's a good sign to see. Yeah. It's good to see mining hash power moving to other areas. But in longer term, I think after the regulators make the regulations more clear in China, maybe there will be kind of shifting like from China to US to China, this kind of thing. But it's very good for the Bitcoin network.
When it comes to crypto adoption in Asia broadly, it does seem like the West that for the most part, when you're talking about institutionalization of crypto, it's still mostly just about Bitcoin. There do seem to be a couple of projects unique in Korea, like Terra, that have gained significant traction. Are there other regional projects that have really taken off, or what are the assets that your customers and kind of the market broadly cares about? Is it still just Bitcoin and maybe a little bit of ETH, or are there other projects as well that catch people's eyes?
I think this year it's quite silent in Asia. Western institutions, Western key KOL, key opinion people, they shout out and seems they draw all the attentions. But still, some good things happens in Asia area. One is that the option trading platform Bit.com, it launched in Q4, and now it almost catch like 30% to 40% of the Deribit trading volume. So this is one good example. Another one is that prime brokerage infrastructure has been built also in Asia. Mostly we talk about like the Western one, like Genesis, like those BitGo is one, but in China there's a platform called CyberX. it's building its like a portfolio margin connection to different exchanges. Namely, people can enjoy the portfolio margin across different exchanges. So all the things are quite slow this year, but it's happening. I think good signs for the infrastructure building, but still we are quite silent this year. Maybe some good progress will happen here. Well, by the way, we also miss DeFi, right? Mm-hmm. Most DeFi projects are from like Western, and in China only one or two could be named. And yeah, I think this year is quite silent for Asia area.
Mm-hmm. It seems that so much in crypto ties back to the DCEP initiative from the PBOC. Mm-hmm. How quickly do you think that will get rolled out, and will it be crypto-focused infrastructure companies and institutions that are early adopters of DCEP, or do you think that's going to be more legacy fintechs, legacy regulated banks that start provisioning access to this central bank digital currency that really I think is the largest and earliest at scale central bank digital currency that we'll see come online? Is it a crypto thing, or are these two totally different parallel economies getting built out?
I think, to be honest, it's more centralized digital currency rather than a crypto one, namely decentralized one. And the adopters of the DCEP will be banks, will be the traditional internet giants like Alipay, like WeChat, like Jingdong, like these kind of companies, but rather than crypto-focused companies, because we see DCEP is kind of based on like a distributed ledger technology, but only parts of the framework will be on that. And we also see there will be a central database for the PBOC to maintain the network. So we don't really think DCEP is kind of crypto things rather than a centralized thing. So we don't really regard DCEP as a crypto concept. It's more the traditional adoption of the distributed ledger technology.
Mm-hmm. I would tend to agree with that. And, I do wonder if there is going to be some interplay between the two at scale. And, it just seems that if we go through another kind of major rally, and given so much mining capacity and so much technical talent and dry powder is available in mainland China, it strikes me as, it seems unlikely that there wouldn't ultimately be clarity if this really becomes a new asset class that starts to rival the market cap of gold, for instance. But again, that could happen at the drop of a hat, and the timing of that is anybody's guess. How much work do you do in Japan and Korea? So, I think when we talk about Asia, China gets all the attention. Hong Kong and Singapore, get all the attention because you have seen some larger institutions and some regulatory developments between DBS, which we touched on, and OSL getting its license. How about Korea and Japan? Because Korea was one of the big accelerants of crypto adoption, and Japan has been extremely assertive in licensing and kind of working with the regulated exchanges in the region to think about kind of common sense standards and support. Are those markets currently ones in which you and your team are actively integrating, or do you have thoughts more generally? Maybe they're kind of their own separate island right now.
I think, to be honest, they are quite separate now. We have been trying to penetrate into Korean market. Like people are kind of very negative about this market, but I think basically Japan and Korea, the cryptocurrencies are were very hot. I think currently they are out. But today there's a good news that SoftBank acquired the OTC platform, but I think they are slower than other regions in regards of basically everything. So I think they are quite out.
How about India? Have you started to do much there? India was an interesting case with some pretty strict regulatory crackdowns, some of which made it all the way to the Supreme Court at one point. So it's been a very hot and cold market with respect to crypto. Is that another instance of kind of an isolated environment, or have you seen any activity pick up there?
For India, I'm not very familiar with that part. So basically, I think it's still isolated. But I think there are several good players there. They have been accelerating their businesses because we see some of the India partners has been like a deposit Bitcoin to us to earn yield, and some of the exchange borrow other kind of Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stable coins from us. So they are accelerating, but I think it's early. It's too early to tell.
With those last two questions, you more or less confirm what I wrote in the theses, which is that these markets, you can call them Asian crypto markets, but really you're talking about 5, 6, 7 different ecosystems that really have different regulatory standards, different infrastructure providers, and not only different languages, but kind of norms as well. So let's get back to the markets that you are actively in, and let's talk about DBS in particular, because that seems on par with the SBI news, if not bigger for at least the Singaporean market and maybe Hong Kong as well. Touch on the DBS developments a little bit and what you think institutional rush in Asia to catch up with the West.
I think although we are kind of happy about this news, like DBS in Singapore launched its exchange and OSL in Hong Kong received its license, but we noted that these licenses are quite limited. They kind of limited to professional investors, namely the traditional institutions and high net worth individuals. I think although they are progressing here, but still very conservative comparing to US. We are happy about this, but we don't know what to say because if this is the license is going to be limited to professional investors, I think it will be quite limited for us to play. So yeah.
All right, we have a couple minutes left here, and again, I know it's late by you, so we're extremely thrilled that you were able to join us for this particular session. I guess we'll do a lightning round then. If you had kind of 3 things that you're keeping an eye on next year, 3 top trends, concerns, what is on your back of the napkin list of things to watch in crypto, not just in Asia but in general?
Generally, I think the first thing we need to look is actually Bitcoin 100K. So I think this is we will agree on. And the second thing we need to be watching closely is actually Ethereum 2.0. But I think the progress there will drag us lots of attention, drag the attentions from us. And the final thing will be, I would say, the regulations in Asia, how it will go. If it goes in a very conservative way, then Asia will just out. Yeah.
Well, extremely insightful. We are appreciative not only of your time tonight, but of your support of the theses and the mega report that we put out. So encourage people to read that, check out Babel Finance, and of course, we'll be following you and the market in Asia very closely. Flex, you are off the hot seat. Thank you again for joining us.
No problem. Thanks.